Merhaba arkadaşlar. If you happen to be in the not cool club, then you've probably never heard of my book, The 10 Essential Rules for Smart Language Learning. Today, I will show you just how practical this book is by applying the 10 rules to the newborn baby in my language family, Bebeğim, Turkish. Let's get started. Rule number 1, start with why. It's not easy learning a language, so do not make it harder on yourself by going in blind. Usually, I say that languages choose me in a magical act of serendipity. But this time around, things were a bit more personal. Kind of like preparing to eat a snack on your train ride home, when suddenly someone who forgot to wear deodorant that day sits next to you and ruins your mini meal. You see, as much as I find the history of the Ottoman Empire, the clash of East and West in Turkish history, and the islands of Bükuyada absolutely fascinating, I'm looking to redeem myself from a previous failure. This previous failure is a language that shall not be named in this video because it has been more emotionally traumatizing than people who break their pasta in half before boiling it. In fact, Turkish has a similar syntax to the language that shall not be named, and my body is ready for revenge. So, I know my why, and as far as you are concerned, make sure you have enough in your why to get through those rainy days where you just do not want to learn. And in fact, you may want to watch The World Bird. Yes, it is that important. Rule number 2, set smart learning goals. When I started learning Turkish on the 1st of January 2024, and yes, I was only slightly hungover, I divided my plans into periods of 3 months or quarters. I did not have big glorious goals because I focused on the process of learning Turkish, not the results. My initial goal? To spend 1.5 hours a day with Asimil using my bidirectional translation method. Don't make the mistake of saying, I will be fluent in 1 year, because that will get you nowhere. Every time you find yourself coming up with lofty goals, think about this critical question. What can I do every day that is going to take me to that one lofty result I really, really want? And while you're at it, focus on something that is specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. Here's an example. I will listen to my favorite podcast series in X language for 15 minutes a day. Now, that is a cool goal you can measure and be proud of every single day once you complete it. Rule number 3, create strong daily habits. When I started learning Turkish in January 2024, I spent only 30 minutes per day learning it at the very beginning. Whenever I take on a new language, I always ease into it. The first lessons of Asimil were pretty short, and the bidirectional translation method hadn't started in full swing. That was great, since my daily Turkish lesson would not be overwhelming and I would always do it in the morning, because that is when I feel the most energized and when I have the most free time. A few weeks into the schedule, I doubled my time from 30 minutes to an hour of learning. And as of today, I try to get an hour and a half of Turkish in me, like some good old kahve, coffee. But if not, I always stick to my minimum of half an hour. I find the best way to ensure a learning session gets completed is to chain it to another habit you already have. For example, my morning meditation serves as the cue or trigger that lets me know I need to learn Turkish immediately afterwards. Use the power of chaining to your advantage and make the link between your habits and your learning as strong as the luscious chest hair most Italian men possess. So for you, a cool habit-based goal could be something along the lines of, I will be listening to my favorite podcast series in Spanish for 15 minutes a day in the morning, around 9 a.m., after breakfast. Rule number 4, build your input learning machine. What goes in must come out. At the heart of every acquisition of any language is a little thing called input. Input is basically listening and reading in your target language. I focus almost exclusively on input when I'm learning a new language for roughly 6 months. And here's the thing. Instead of overwhelming myself with too many resources, I just choose one at a time. And normally it's Asimil to begin with. Once I've mastered it, I gradually add other resources like podcasts or YouTube channels. Avoid paralysis by analysis. Find one quality resource and focus on input. Rule number 5, let your principles guide your learning. Methods come and go, but your principles must be timeless. The bidirectional translation method is my secret sauce to start learning any language. Reading, writing, listening, speaking. It covers all the bases. It's what I used for the 3 initial months of 2024, with Asimil Turkish. The reason why the BDT method works so well for me is because it meets all the fundamental principles. It's unique to me, and I love how effective, structured, and flexible it is, bending like spaghetti that has been boiled just right. Ma non troppo al dente, per favore. And finally, it focuses primarily on input, lots of listening and reading at the early stages. Maybe the BDT is not your cup of tea, and that's okay. If you prefer flashcards, full immersion, or other methods, just make sure that you use solid principles to guide your learning, not rigid methods. If you understand the principles of efficient language learning, you can use, leverage, and bend these principles to create a unique strategy that works wonders for you. Rule number 6, make input your top priority. Turkish is an SOV language, subject, object, verb, and that can cause internal bleeding of the brain for some people, like me, for example. Input, a massive quantity of input at that, is absolutely key to start avoiding translating into your head. I know, because the language that shall not be named caused me all sorts of trouble because I wanted to start speaking fluently way too early. And so, for Turkish, I listened to conversations daily. Asimil first and YouTube later, but I made sure I got input every single day. Have I ever spoken Turkish? Yes, a little bit with my friend Gülşah in Rome, but not speaking Turkish was not bothering me at all. First, understand and absorb, and then speak and use. Be patient, my people. Spewing off a few cool phrases you have learned by heart takes minutes. But to really acquire and then speak a language, then you have to start counting in weeks, months, and years. As a wise old man once said, all good things take time. Rule number 7, build your grammar machine. When it comes to grammar, I always stick to the same rule. Learn grammar from language and not the other way around. I apply a very simple rule that I call the 90-10 rule. 90% of my time is spent on input, listening, reading, understanding through bilingual texts that contain interesting dialogues in Turkish, and only 10% on grammar. With Asimil Turkish, for example, I learned grammar by reading the grammar rules and explanations provided, but only after trying to understand the text of the dialogues via my native language. Context is absolutely king, and grammar can become grueling without it. All of you grammar grandpas and grandmas, put your weapons down and just breathe. It will be okay. Rule number 8, build your listening comprehension machine. When they say you have 2 ears and 1 mouth, there's a reason. You should listen more than you speak. And this piece of advice does not apply only to language learning. Every day, I made sure to listen to Turkish for at least 30 minutes at the beginning, and then I gradually increased that to 45 minutes. And eventually, I try to listen for over an hour on certain days. I moved from Asimil and its somewhat artificial and a bit slow audio to more authentic content aimed at A2 learners by relying on, for example, teacher Ali Yilmaz first, and then the legendary super easy Turkish videos. Shout out to both. Whenever I listen to a podcast or a video, I always use a handy dandy transcript to acquire new words. And then I do something super sexy. I listen to the audio without any text. It doesn't matter if I understand every word. The key is to maximize consistent exposure. Rule number 9, do not memorize, familiarize. Stop trying to remember the language and start living it. Turkish words are in general different from any European language, and they can be long, even longer than some German words. And oh boy, das ist überraschend. However, I do not focus on memorizing any individual Turkish word, especially not the long ones. Any word I encounter, I just try to break them down. For example, let's take the word kitaplik, which means bookshelf. Well, kitap means book, and lik is a suffix used to indicate a place or thing associated with the root word. And together, a place for books. That is, tada, a bookshelf. Here's another one. Gözlük. Göz means eye. Lük is a suffix indicating an instrument or tool. And together, a tool for the eyes. That is, glasses. This way, you get the added benefit of learning 2 words for the price of 1. And on top of that, you also understand the relationship between the smaller parts of words. And it makes it so much easier to remember all of them. Well, that's nothing short of priceless. Rule number 10, embrace change and start a revolution. Remember, the process is more important than the result. Unfortunately, the school system does not agree, and they focus on the opposite. Our society often teaches us to aim for perfection and conformism, performance and results. But language learning, like any other skill that requires effort and perseverance, has a lot of sobering lessons to teach us. Instead of perfection, embrace mistakes, because they are your best friends. Instead of performance, aim at communication, because that is what makes humans tick. Instead of conforming, come up with your own learning style, because everyone is unique. Instead of results, focus on the process, because that will help you grow consistently. Learning a language requires you to look inside, face the music, and change. It forces you to give up a piece of yourself in order to become a new version of yourself, to go from a caterpillar to a butterfly by going inside a language cocoon. So, my sweet child, are you ready for a language makeover? Spread your wings of fluency and fly. Fly. There you have it. This is how I apply the 10 essential rules of language learning to Turkish, and to be honest, to any other language I'm learning. If you're interested, you can find it on Amazon and on my website in English, Spanish, and even in my native language, Italiano. Just a quick note that if you get it from my website directly, it comes with the audiobook version as well. Link in the description box and in the usual pinned comment in the comment section. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being you, and as always, happy language learning. You rule. See what I did there?